Well, let's start with some breaking inputs which are just coming in, where the Supreme Court has now referred the case of women's entry into Kerala's Sabrimala temple to a constitution bench. Now, a 5-judge bench of the Apex Court will hear the case. The court has also raised 6 questions on the issues which are to be considered by the bench. Now, the Apex Court was hearing a batch of pleas challenging the ban on entry of women in the Sabrimala temple. This is the big story that we're tracking this hour, where the Supreme Court has now referred the matter to the constitutional bench. And for more information on this, we are joined by WION's correspondent Jessica Taneja. Jessica, what is the latest on this story?
Crazy.
Jessica, if you can hear me, what is the latest on this story, where the Supreme Court has now referred the matter of women's entry into Sabrimala temples to the Constitution bench? What is likely to happen next?
Well, Saleh, as already we've heard that the Supreme Court, a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court, has now referred the matter for Constitutional bench to hear it further. And some of the questions, in fact, that were framed for the court, were whether the practice of regulating entry for women is an essential religious practice under Article 25. Remember, this was in fact the much contested question then. Also, whether Sabrimala Ayyappa temple has a denominational character, and whether rules of the Kerala Hindu public worship authorization rules permitted, in fact, the religious denominations to ban women, and if so, the same, in fact, is in a violation of Article 14. And, these are the kind of questions framed in front of the court, and where the court took cognizance of the fact that this needs to be referred to a larger bench, which will hear the matter in detail and give out its verdict.
Right. So, as of now, is this essentially, on the grounds of Article 14, that the entry of women into Sabrimala is being contested, where Article 14 guarantees equality? So women in this case are not given entry into temple very simply because of the fact that they happen to be women.
Well, you're partially right there, Saleh, and the fact that, many people, in fact, see this as violation of Article 14, which is right to life, right to freedom, right to equality. And this is in fact how this case has always been looked at. And remember also, the temple prohibits entry of women who are in their menstruating years. Now, this ban was also, has a statutory backing in the form of rules 3 Part B of the Kerala Hindu Place of Public Worship Authorization Entry Rules Act, which is also being contested. Now, these questions will be examined in detail, in fact, by the larger constitutional bench as and when it's listed for hearing, and will pronounce judgment based on these particular issues raised to the Supreme Court bench that has now transferred the matter to a constitutional bench.
Right, Jessica, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and getting us those updates on this latest development, where the Supreme Court has now transferred the case of women's entry into the Sabrimala temple to a constitutional bench.